Whenever a popular piece of media comes out and has one or two things unanswered, the favorite thing that fans love to do is come up with a pointless timeline to give our favorite pieces of fiction some needed clarity. It sometimes almost feels like a way for fans to prove that their favorite franchise is better just because of how all the pieces come together in an orderly fashion and it's all part of a master plan, when at times it's completely unnecessary. Nintendo fans are no strangers to this, since we come up with crazy theories of how our favorite games all fall down in a convenient timeline. But would you be surprised to know that out of all of Nintendo's story-heavy franchises, Metroid is the one to have the most coherent timeline of them all? While there isn't an official timeline up to this point, most of the events that happen within the games are streamlined enough for it to be put into a simple, basic timeline. In fact, if you may, the beauty is that there are 4 major moments that separate the timeline into smaller sections, these corresponding to the type of mission Samus finds herself in each corresponding game. I guess the best place to start is with the origins of Samus, as seen in the Metroid mangas released back in 2004. These 2 volumes showed a lot of Samus's backstory, from the moments of young Samus living in K2L, her traumatic encounter with Ridley, being trained by the Choso, to a little bit of her days working with the Galactic Federation under Adam Malkovich's command. While I personally don't consider this as a major point in the timeline, since we don't really see these events taking place within the main games, they do clear up some connections to the protagonist's pasts. And I do encourage anyone interested to give it a read after the video. You can easily find the English translation over at the Metroid Database. And now for the actual game stories. This is gonna take a while, so bear with me. Here we go! Our journey starts with the first Metroid game, where Samus is sent to planet Seves to confront the space pirates and their leader, Mother Brain. After they threaten to take over the galaxy with the power of the seemingly invincible parasites capable of sucking the life force out of their prey, known as the Metroids. After defeating the pirates and destroying Mother Brain, the Federation gets the also great idea of exterminating all of the Metroids in their home planet of SR-388, so that the events on Seves may never be repeated. Because that will totally not set the ecosystem out of balance. Right?
The use of bombs has been authorized.
Anyways, Samus says, sure, no problem, until one little baby hatches from an egg and somehow confuses this for its mother, and Samus decides to keep it for maybe reasons I might touch on a later video. She takes the baby and leaves it in the hands of the Federation, because that seemed like a great idea at the time, to which Ridley completely agreed and decided to take the Metroid for himself instead. Samus chases Ridley, which takes us back to planet Seves, again. We kill them, again. The baby turns out to be missing and we find an Enturian where we fight some Metroids, again. After finding a new Mother Brain, who turns out to have been working out since the last encounter, promptly showing us the power of her new body by using the also powerful Rainbow Beam to almost defeat Samus, until the now giant baby Metroid stops her, gives the energy to its mother, and ultimately sacrifices itself to save her. This causes Samus to promptly get mad because Metroid killing business is our business and destroys Mother Brain, somehow causing the planet to explode alongside with her, thus bringing a closure to what I like to call the Metroid threat. But what about the Metroid Prime trilogy, you say? Well, these games take place on separate events I like to call the Phazon Crisis. After tracking down the distress signal of a nearby space pirate space station known as the Frigate ORPHEON? I know, it's not funny. Samus discovers that the pirates are now playing with a radioactive goo-like thing called Phazon in the nearby planet of Talon 4. Hey, Tanabe, where's Talons 1 through 3? Metroid Prime 4 confirmed. Fearing that the pirates may be having a little bit too much fun by doing stupid things, Samus heads over to the planet and destroys their Omega project, where they try to infuse themselves with this highly radioactive substance like it was just a bunch of steroids. Because the space pirates are completely smart and are totally threatening to the galaxy. She then decides to ruin all the fun the pirates could possibly have by going into the meteor that crashed onto this planet, bringing the substance with it, and confront the most meta boss in game history. No, not him, but I can see why you guys might have thought of him. It's actually this thing called Metroid Prime. Oh, come on! Jealous of her style, Metroid Prime steals her face-on suit, and after not being able to handle with its edginess, it explodes and Samus flies back into space. Until later on where she's sent to Planet Aether by the Federation where... Oh come on, I just made a video about this that goes into more detail about the story. Could you guys go watch that instead? No? Okay... Samus meets the muff guy Umos, who tells her that they are about to die because a meteor crashed into their planet, as well as it was filled with this phazon and it made these very spooky, scary spiders called the Aang in a dark dimension of Aether, and you go out to put a stop to it because you're Samus, and you can do anything.
No plans to authorize...
So after fighting a giant worm, a giant mosquito, and a giant robot... Where's the consistency in this? You head to defeat the Emperor of Ings, which of course you do succeed and save the planet. Also, it turns out that Metroid Prime finally managed to cope with the edginess from the last game, and now it's trying to steal our style even more by becoming the embodiment of our evilness. And yes, we do defeat him. Her. It. After this, Samus thinks about taking some time to sit back and have a nice nap, only to have those regretful memories of your past coming back to haunt you and make you regret some of your life's decisions. Thank goodness the face on suit was just a face. Then our good friends from the Federations call us once again to take care of the pirates who are now working with Dark Samus into making everything in the galaxy into phazon. Because things can't escalate any further, I guess. Oh, and they hire Rundus and these two other guys to help us. But oh surprise, they turn evil!
Just in time.
Samus goes cleaning up the phazon from planet to planet until the Federation finds the source of the substance and decides to call this planet Phase. Yay! This is when Samus says she's had enough of this phazon crap and goes to the planet to do what she does best.
The baby
Destroys her evil doppelganger, this totally not mother brain boss, and of course, blows up the planet, bringing peace to space once again. Until the X-Menace takes place. Yeah, turns out wiping out all those Metroids wasn't such a good idea, because they were the predators to these jello things called X-Parasites that are now devouring everything in their path. During a quick survey in SR-388, Samus gets attacked by one of these creatures and survives thanks to an injection of Metroid DNA because bird magic. And later she's sent to the BSL station to find out what's going on, only to obviously realize that everybody on the station is being eaten by the eggs, and so she has the great idea to blow up the station by making it crash on the planet and blowing it up with it. This leaves a few games that take place in the events I like to call the side plots, because I couldn't really think of a better name for them. I mean, in Hunters, Samus gets a message about the ultimate power of swords, and she goes and fights other 6 dudes over it, and it turns out to be a trap by this evil final boss, and of course, you blow it up, and it's planet space station thing along with it. Then there is Federation Force, where you play as some faceless troopers doing cleanup duty after the events of Metroid Prime 3, and in Another M, a lot of nothing ultimately happens, besides Adam dying, I guess. Only to have him come back as a computer in Fusion, I suppose. Well, that was quite the adventure, but how exactly do these games fall along in a timeline, you may ask? And the answer is much simpler than when you think. First, of course, we have the original Metroid, and then comes the events in Metroid Prime, since at this point, the Metroids haven't gone extinct yet, and their records within the Space Pirates computer showing up both Planet Sebes and SR-388, so they still haven't been blown up. This is followed with the events of Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime Hunters, and culminating with Prime 3, which is now continued by Federation Force. This makes sense because at this point in time, the pirates are focusing their efforts on Phazon until it's wiped out, explaining their absence in the following games. We then return to destroy the Metroids in the second game, which is later reminded to us in the opening of Super Metroid's text, and Other M follows with this tradition by reminding us about the ending of the SNES game in its opening. After all these crazy incidents, now seems like the only opportunity Samus has to travel back to SR-388 to check on the ecosystem and properly get infected by the X, thus kickstarting the events in Metroid Fusion. And there you have it, the complete up-to-date Metroid Timeline. I guess I'm happy to see that the beauty about this series is that new players can jump in at any point and still have a self-contained story that will hopefully satisfy their appetites. And in the end of the day, The Metroid franchise is all about the journey of one lone bounty hunter who ventures into the unknown depths of the universe to make sure that when the new form of evil comes to threaten the galaxy, she can put a stop to it.